Someone says, "What's the future?" Vaughn Coleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. What's going on, guys? Welcome to yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. I'm, of course, your host, Vaughn Coleman. We have the 85th episode today, and it's also special because my book is getting printer ready. So I want to talk about my book first before we talk about another writer's work. So this is my comic book, Phenomenova. If it's your first time tuning in, let me go ahead and put the link in the chat. It is also available on Indiegogo, but Phenomenova is set 20 years after World War III and follows the idealistic son of a war hero who strikes out to become a superhero inspired by his father's legacy. This comic is 65 pages of story, 68 pages total, and issue 2 is already in production. This book is completely done and will be shipped to you as soon as it is ready. And all the goals are cumulative, so if you back, whether it's Indiegogo, whether you backed on Kickstarter, backed on Fund My Comic, all of that adds up, and we are at past 16k raised, and if we hit 20k by the time the campaign ends, everyone will get an extra trading card which is already being drawn, because I'm pretty confident we'll get it. But you will get a mini print of this art right here. You'll get a mini print of this if you back on Fund My Comic, as well as 2 trading cards. This one right here and this one right here. So make sure to check that out. Again, link is in chat. Links to all of them are in the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in my guest, C.S. Johnson. How's it going?
Hi, everyone. It's going well. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I really have to say, I love your art. It's very well done. So
thank you. Yeah, I hired a talented guy and told him what to do. No, but it's yeah, I mean, my guy's great. His stuff, I remember getting it back. I actually just interviewed him, I think, what was it? It wasn't my last episode, was it? It was 2 episodes ago. And it was like, we haven't talked, we talk all the time, but it was so weird because it's always very professional with a bit of fun, but it was like we were laughing like friends. It's so weird how, I don't know, like we're just so caught up in the work, we never really talk to each other on a personal level. And so I'd ask him, like, what is your mindset behind this? Because I just told him what to draw, and then he would explain his process. I don't know. It's always fun.
Yeah. Well, like what you do is a reflection of who you are. And when you have a similar project and you both enjoy it and you both seem to have fun with it, you can tell that you at least have enough overlap that you can get along really well. So that's nice. I will have to coach him from you, maybe.
You have to, yeah, no, I've told him, I'm like, dude, you are not the first one to say, hey, I want to use him for something. I'm like, go ahead. Like, he doesn't use social media much, so just message me if you ever, that goes to anyone. And yeah, I'll get you in contact. But he's great, super nice, and very easy to work with. I can attest to that. He put it with me, and first-time writers especially, I don't know. When it comes to letting your someone else take care of your baby and go, no, it's okay, I can draw this. I don't know if you felt that way, but it was scary for me.
I've been a writer for a while, so and I've worked with a lot of book cover artists and stuff, and so it's similar in a way, but it's also different too because you have multiple pictures and multiple angles that you're trying to get across. You want somebody that's talented and somebody that's open to your project and its needs. And yeah, it can be a little tricky, and there are some temperamental people out there. Like you said, he deals with you, so he should be able to deal with you.
He should be able to, yeah. I was very OCD, and later on, as I was writing issue 6 yesterday, I was like, okay, this will be medium shot, and now I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, like, he's got it. Like, I'll say, like, that's a close-up, panel 2, 3, 4, you know what, if you want to do 10 panels or 5, you know, man, as long as it, you know, I'm getting more laid back, but I wanted to ask, so you're a writer, so what got you into writing?
Therapy was too expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking on some level, but you know, it's better to let's like laugh when you say it so people don't think you're insane.
No, there's writing through tough stuff is, I have a list of ideas that I'm like, I should be writing this into a story instead of just thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, I was very shy as a kid, and I didn't say a whole lot until I decided to say a whole lot, and then people were surprised that I actually said stuff. So, but I would write stories, and I would try to process things through writing. I mean, like writing's a great way to understand what's happening to you and understand it better, and you kind of like get that like extra um, level of like self-awareness in there. I truly believe that people who never write, you can tell them immediately because they have no self-awareness.
Mm,
They're a lot less neurotic too, you know.
yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of that, and it's interesting you say that. I was just writing down stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, let me. And here's the thing: I've written the same post-it down over and over and over again, but I'm writing this down anyway. Just stuff I want to write through, and I'm like, I have a story for that. You know, it's always helpful. So, how long you been writing? You mentioned you were a quiet kid. Did you write a lot when you were a kid?
Yes. So my dad really likes to talk a lot, and it's actually funny. One of the things I want to talk about with your comic and my comic have in common is that they seem to like honor fathers' legacies.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad really likes to talk a whole lot, and because he likes to talk a lot, he always tends to interrupt me when I'm talking. And actually, that's like my number one pet peeve when people are talking. So like, and it's not something like I advertise or anything. So, but it is something that I've had to teach my kids, especially like mommy's talking, mommy's on a rant. Don't interrupt me.
Yeah, no, I struggle with that interrupting, but then also not liking getting interrupted. And it's like, because I just want to yap, and sometimes I need someone to just tell me, hey, knock it off. Yeah.
Well, like a lot of things of like with like therapy and talk therapy is that you want to talk things out and you want to try to vent things until you can understand them, and like you hit that moment of catharsis where you're talking about what you want to talk about and people are just letting you talk, and it like hits you what the real thing that you're trying to talk about is. So it's like it's not the fact that you know, this person was lying about me. It's the idea that people might believe that lie is what's really bothering you or something like that. So there's like always something behind the thing that you want, or something that's behind the thing that troubles you, and it goes deeper and it's more damaging if it's not kind of like contained and understood and neutralized maybe. Well,
Absolutely. So, I want to pull in your book, but who are your favorite writers? I'm just curious. Like, do you have any favorites?
so I actually have my master's in English, so I'm a snob.
Go ahead. No, that's good. That's good. It's a refreshing around here. We're always listing comic book people. Go as snobby as you want.
Oh, okay. So, my favorite writer is probably C.S. Lewis, just because I was younger when I read him, and he was the first like author that I could hear his voice in my head as I read it. That's very hard to get, I think, sometimes, where you really have such a good, strong, confident voice that when you're writing, you can kind of convey that across time and across space and people and continents too. I found out later when I found out he was British, I was like, well, I don't hear him speaking British like in my head though, so a bit of a surprise. And then probably after that, I like T.S. Eliot. I have a lot of poetry, Dylan Thomas, and I like Orwell too. Um, Animal Farm is always one of my favorite things to reference when I'm talking about politics with people. I found that a lot of people don't understand politics very well, and the same people have this about the same issues, I think, with fairy tales. So it's always kind of interesting overlap.
Oh, you think people have a difficulty understanding? Uh, so I'm just curious. Politics and fairy tales. It's like I never would have thought of that. I'm curious. Expand on that. Like,
So, like the nature of politics is that you have to do with people, and with
mm,
fairy tales, you're dealing with universal truths, and these are universal truths that connect people. So,
mm,
understanding that like symbolism and like even the princess's journey and the hero's journey and these archetypes, that all of them are used in political language. So we can actually see that kind of playing out in real time with like the cognitive dissonance of the age.
hmm. That's such an interesting way to go about it. That's why I think when people approach things like politics or whatever, it's much more productive in your story to speak to universal truths that a transcend that line, and B, because you could go, wait a minute, am I doing what the bad guy's doing, or am I not doing what the good guy? Stuff like that. I think.
Somebody once asked me like the nature of good and evil is like is good the absence of evil, or is evil the absence of good? And the idea, the fallacy of that option is just the fact that good is like it is a universal truth, and the idea of evil can be the absence of good as much as it can be the twisting of the good. And I think a lot of people, like I said, it's a fallacy to assume that it's either or when it can be both and.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way of going about it. I don't know. I love.
Didn't expect a philosophy lesson, did you?
No, I did. When I invite a writer on, I do. When I invite, especially a book writer, typically, I notice. I don't know. It depends, because I'm trying to think. Like, because comic book guys normally have them on and be like, oh, dude, that Green Lantern comic, or that. I don't know why I went to Green Lantern. Or when we talk about X-Men. But yeah, that's normally what it is. So when it comes to writers, I'm like, okay, I gotta at least pretend like I'm, an intellectual.
Intellectualism has to be rooted in common sense, though. I've met so many elitists that have cut off that vine that roots them into the ground of reality, and it's like, are we even on the same planet anymore?
Yeah, no, it's there is the folly of the intellectual, where it's like you have a belief system, and now everything has to align with that belief system, and it's like, dude, come down here, man. Like, because that's the thing, a lot of intelligent people you meet will then turn around and make a joke that's like, oh my god, like dirty jokes or whatever, and it's just always refreshing, because it's like, generally I find people who are very intelligent, that'll translate to, I don't want to say street smarts, but you know what I mean, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, well,
so Ellie said, if I heard if a memory still gives you a negative emotional reaction, then you still haven't dealt with it. That's interesting.
Well, sometimes there's some emotional reactions to like indicate the size of the problem, so it's mutated. So
which really comes down to asking forgiveness or forgiving yourself. That's interesting.
Well, I'm a bit of a recovering perfectionist too, so forgiving myself is hard.
Oh man, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So okay, so you've listed a bunch of artists that or writers that I will confess, this is what happens when I go from interviewing artists to writers, is a lot of people that, I'll be honest, I don't know so well, but I'm curious. So you chose the name C.S. Johnson. So was that T.S.? Was that in any way an inspiration? Or
No. So it's actually my name.
your name is C.S. or?
It's my initials. So.
Well, that's what I mean. So I mean, you chose, because I'm wondering, because there's like George R.R. Martin, which is the most obvious J.R.R. Tolkien. Was there a reason you said to go with your initials, or if not, if you don't want to mention it, that's fine.
So I've been writing for over 10 years, and there's still a bit of bias in the science fiction and fantasy realms and you see it like an overcorrection happening now. But when I started out, I wanted to go by C.S. Johnson because it was kind of like gender neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And I was writing, my first story is actually the Starlight Chronicles that I published, and it's got a male protagonist, and I think a lot of people just kind of assumed that you would be a man. So,
right.
And I've got a lot of compliments on my writing.
That's good.
It's like, oh, you write men really well. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, anyone can write anyone. I saw a post recently that was like, men need to stop writing women. I'm like, it's like, anyone should write any. All right, so can we not write about dragons?
I just feel like it's a big it was always kind of an issue because, like I said, science fiction and fantasy tend to be more male or dominated still. I mean, you see like a lot of like the rise of like romantasy, so there is a side of it for women, and I honestly am like, I'm waiting for the science fiction shoe to drop. So
oh, you think there's going to be women in getting into, I was about to say invading, but like getting into science fiction?
Oh, see, that's funny because my best friend is Kathy McCrum, and her books are science fiction. So it's like, I know they're very talented people. They're very talented people who are in the industry and everything. And right now, it's just kind of the fantasy stuff is kind of big. So
Fantasy I could buy. I know a fair amount of girls that are into fantasy. I don't know. Because I feel like fantasy, there's a lot more, and maybe it's just my pedestrian understanding, but I feel like there's a lot more romance in fantasy I see than in sci-fi. Sci-fi often tends to be either overly nerdy or overly bleak.
So I was listening to Paul Chato talk about the Acolyte and why women shouldn't write for Star Wars, and I 100% agree with him actually.
Wow. So you wouldn't write for Star Wars?
I grew up with Star Wars. I have a whole collection in my basement, and I would probably be the rare exception that would be up for the challenge,
Right.
but I wouldn't be stupid about it,
Yeah.
The like off on a tangent and stuff. I was talking about how like the Jedi don't steal children from anybody. The parents contact them and they give the parents the option to let their kids go. And there's a whole issue with consent and the parental approval and everything. So it was like, yes, this story is done. Whoever read this, I'm not a Star Wars fan.
I didn't bother watching the Acolyte. I canceled my. Although I did really like X-Men '97, but Acolyte just didn't seem like I, as a Star Wars fan, was the target audience.
Well, but he was talking about how like science fiction and even like science fantasy tends to be more. There's what men call gear porn, and there's a lot of robots, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of taking things apart and mechanical type of knowledge that you need to know to get it to work. And this kind of makes sense to me because the difference between sci-fi and fantasy is that fantasy you can do whatever you want pretty much. You establish like the rules of the magic, and then you can kind of play with it from there on. There's a lot more adaptability in fantasy. In science fiction, you have actual like real life cause and effect principles of like mechanics and engineering and chemical reactions. So those are things that you actually have to know.
Right. That's why I think I struggle with because I was always terrible at science. So I feel like that kind of practicality stuff is tough. But I think I know that as a weakness. Everyone thinks they could write everything. You just have to learn it.
Yes. There is a map. There's a large yes, science fiction is a lot harder to write. And I think it's especially harder to write too because the other podcast I was talking about nihilism, and I think a lot of people don't really want to think about how to better the world when there's so much rhetoric about how terrible it is.
Yes. Oh my God, I talk about that at length. Yeah.
Yes. It is hard to be like, well, I'm going to rise above this and fight back, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it's it can be very hard, especially if you're not mechanically minded or I guess the best kind of position that I see every day is my husband works in healthcare, and it's his job to save your life, and he has to know how to help you, And I always make the joke that like he'll go off to work and save people's lives, and I'll stay home and kill all these imaginary people. So we're perfect for each other.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Killing off characters is, I don't know, sometimes easy, and then sometimes it depends. Like there are times I've been like creating a character with the purpose of killing off, and then I'm like, nah, let's keep him. I don't want to kill him anymore. I don't know if you ever get that.
Well, the nice thing about fantasy, like the nice thing about writing and fantasy and everything is that you generally can take anybody that you hate or have a negative reaction towards and make them into a villain. I think that's a nice thing, and that's also like the double-edged sword too, because we've seen a lot of parodies that are just not really that well done these days.
Mm-hmm.
So another way that that bad writing has kind of infected people is that people are trying to turn politics into fairy tales, and that never works.
Oh my God, it's so I hate when I also hate when they have like a premise that works and they decide to really ram up the commentary. Even like earlier, I was getting some heat, and to be fair, I made a statement that I stand by, but I was like, I think this writer ruined X-Men, and then I go, they're putting commentary first, and he goes, wait till you find out X-Men has commentary. I was like, I've read I've probably read more than the person commenting this. I'm like, I've read every single 80s issue. X-Men was about X-Men, and there was commentary, actually. And It's like, I don't know. It's just stuff like that. Commentary needs to be integral or needs to be weave or woven into the story. And
I will say the difference between a good writer and a bad writer is that a bad writer won't compromise the message that they want to sit into their story. A good writer will at least consider the opposing views and use them if needed. So,
yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I actually have a really good example of this in my
Go
own work
ahead.
because I'm going to do my own word here. But no, I have a Snow White retelling where Snow White is black, and it's a fantasy historical novel. It's actually very well received, and but there's a character in it that's trying to convince some of the um, so like some of the refugees from the Morulia people who are from like a fantasy version of Africa and Senegalese and Cote d'Ivoire, and they're like in a kind of like French fantasy type kingdom, and he's trying to get them to do like a liberation kind of campaign. Yes, so there you go, and he's trying to like take them back to their homeland, and now there's like a big plot twist with this, but this is kind of also based on like the Back to Africa movement that we had in America during the Civil War. And it's like a good writer will just be like, yes, that's totally what it is. A good writer, will at least be like, maybe there's a point to this, and maybe there's not. And
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of
Exploring.
just interesting. It's where it's like maybe it's not like your natural inclination to be like, oh, I would agree with this position and stuff. So, um, and then, like I said, you want the bad guys to do everything that you hate, or you want them to do the things that people disagree with, or the people that disagree with you want to do. And it's like, yes, maybe in this world it will work. So that's probably a really vague thing. Please read the book and you'll see what I mean. So there you go.
Gotcha. I'll have to check it out.
So no, all the Rachel Zegler kind of debacle stuff that's going on with her Snow White version. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I wrote a better version, Disney. Call me.
So you've got a ton of books on your website then. How many books have you written?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Wow.
So I just stopped counting after a while.
That's impressive. How long does it typically take you to write a book?
It depends on the book, but it depends on the book, and it does depend on the comic script. Because I'll tell you, I think so. This is what I do for my comic scripts.
Oh yeah, let's see that.
Yes, this is Dizchord number 4. If anybody wants to get some spoilers.
Wow.
So I write down everything that I want to happen, and it takes a long time for me to actually sit down and write it out. But for books, it can take more because I'm more of a character-driven novelist.
Mhm.
I like the internal angst. That's
Me
in the
too.
novel. And a lot of the fears I think are universal. The fear of not being good enough, not being pretty enough, not being thin enough, not being smart enough. Those are very fun things to kind of play with different characters. So
Yeah, I find when I'm writing, and I should do more, but like more novelistic style, inserting yourself in the head of the character and then working through it and talking through it helps make the character more relatable. Because and then when you're translating it to movies, it's like, how do you explain it? Sometimes you can't visualize what makes 2 seconds, what works in your head doesn't really work. I'm sure you get that, right?
yes. So for my one novel, my agent found like a playhouse that they're interested in the script. I don't have a script for it. So and like the novel is The Princess and the Peacock, and it's set in like a fantasy sort of island, and it's an original fairy tale. It's actually probably my most recognized one because it was featured in Kirkus magazine a few years ago. That was the highlight of COVID. I couldn't even really celebrate.
Damn.
But the trying to explain that like the village customs that my main character is just like thinking over in his head is very different from trying to translate that into like, oh, I need to tell the audience without just telling the audience. There's no voiceover effect in this theater. So I've had to like add characters and add situations in that aren't in the book. And for what it's worth, I try to complement it nicely. So, The example that I've given people like that they might kind of imagine better is I actually turned in like script notes for Moana, the live action version, and I said one of the things that they should do is that instead of like the dad's best friend dying in the ocean, and that's why he's scared of letting Moana go, is to get her brother, get an older brother who was supposed to be the leader of the village instead of her. And that way there's a lot more complications with it, because not only can she like make this about like proving herself worthy to be the leader, even though she wasn't the original one, it's also about more about family and about the heroine's journey. Like, I don't think they took my notes for what it's worth.
Damn. Oh, yeah, I found that you have to write differently no matter what medium you write in. And
When I started writing the comic, I was like, this feels like I'm putting my pants on backwards. It's like
it's so weird. Comics, I say that as someone who did screenwriting, because screenwriting is kind of different too. Comics are weird because they're like a blend. Like, because people, even I've met like a lot of comic artists I notice are like, yeah, you don't want to do the novelistic approach. I'm like, what do you mean? They do it all the time. And they'll tell me like, I don't want to. And it's like, well, you draw it your way. It's tough because it's like a weird midway between novels and screenwriting. I find screenwriting is totally like almost removing that novelistic stuff.
yeah.
In fact, I remember I wrote this one treatment for something. My roommate looks at me because I show it to him, and he goes, "Dude, this is a novel. This is not." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Yeah, but it's just like a summary." He goes, "No, this is a summary," and he just shows me like 2 paragraphs. I'm like, "I went above and beyond." He's like, "No, you didn't. You didn't learn the medium."
Well,
You know,
I found that it's very hard to get people on board with if you're overly specific.
yes. I went into the specifics. It was like a slasher of like all, and it's like, all right, so she got her like hand cut off or something. I'm like, yeah, and she's like, well, why is this like 5 paragraphs? I'm like, I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, like
No, it's pretty close. So
I hate, one of the things I hate is having to, and this is one of the advantages of having an artist, is I could be like, all right, can we get on a call? And I'm like, all right, bro. So like, I'm thinking, when this happens, this is like, okay, now I know what you mean. And they draw it. But do you ever have something hyper specific that just you're just like, I can't describe this on the page. I'm just gonna leave out details.
well, in regards to Discord, probably the only thing that I really wanted for certain is that he can hear the music inside each human soul. And I specifically tell my artists, like, you need to use this color or this something, just because it's supposed to be indicative of like their soul and their heart connection. I mean, the soul is made up of the will and the heart and the emotions and the thoughts, and it should be a kind of a unity and diversity type of thing. So
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Generally speaking, I wanted them to like look up specific like musical tracks for it, and I really thought that was asking too much. So if I ever get like a movie version, I'm gonna be like, you need this song's lyrics. Here you go. This is what this is supposed to be. Somebody said that he kind of looked like Nightwing, and I'm like, well, he won't be very good in the DC universe because he would just hear Batman's like the dice theory,
So yeah, let's tell everyone first. Do you want to play the trailer first and then talk about it?
Sure.
Introducing Dizchord, Atlanta's newest superhero, from award-winning author C.S. Johnson. With musical powers that enable him to hear the unique song of each individual's soul, Dizchord has spent the last decade honing his skills and training to take down his father's killer. But Dizchord isn't just fighting for justice. He's also using his powers to go after human traffickers and put an end to their heinous crimes. Get this 30-page full-color comic today.
That's awesome. All right, so award-winning. Well, what did you win an award for?
I have a couple of different awards from different like readers' favorites and reading stuff. So I count it.
Because someone's excited in chat. Meow, meow, roar, growl.
Oh, that's funny. I actually have a cat in issue number 2 pop up.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
This is... So, tell everyone about what this book's about.
So following after issue number 1, or the number 1 is kind of like the origin story, the backstory of how he got his powers, and like basically why and all that good stuff. The issue number 2 kind of takes off. There's more information. Like in the trailer, talks about how his father was killed, and he finds out more information regarding it, and it's another layer of mystery to unravel. So, and it does translate kind of in the realm of Atlanta politics, just because human trafficking in Atlanta is such a difficult issue. So,
Gotcha.
you know.
So he's going after human traffickers. It's pretty dark.
Yes. I actually have a notice in the beginning of the book that says I didn't kill myself. So
Okay.
I did my research. It's terrible research.
Damn. All right. So this is not an all ages book then.
For what it's worth, my kids are nearly both double-digit kids, and they've read it, and they kind of get it. It is one of those things, I think, that it gets darker the older that you get, because
Okay.
It handles it very softly, but you can kind of feel the hit harder as you age.
Okay. So it's not explicitly telling you, but it's one of those things where you read it again, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I know there are examples of things like that I've seen.
So the older you get, the worse you realize that it is. Yes.
Gotcha.
I pride myself on that, frankly.
That's good. No, that stuff is difficult. Writing for 2 audiences at once, or it's, I guess, the same audience. Just it's almost like writing through time.
Well, one of the big problems in media today is that they don't have a lot of family movies.
Yeah.
Like movies that you can watch with your kids and explain stuff without it getting really raunchy or dark or
Yeah. Or
specifics.
it's the adult stuff is ramped all the way up and the kid stuff is dumb all the way down, or we're losing that middle area.
Yes. So I definitely walk the line here. So I want yeah, I would love to see, like my kids watch we have the Superman DCAU stuff, and it's like that's a perfect mix, because it's it does talk about like the things about what it means to be human, like as Clark Kent, as like the alter ego of Superman, and like what it means to be a hero, like a real hero, and not somebody that just does something good because they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
Those things are so like it's a tragedy how much society has forgotten those things.
For sure. For sure. How much it's just crazy.
Well, I don't think I think a lot of it is like the arts are always kind of underappreciated when it comes to public funding.
Any kind of funding, especially independent, they just let's do the same franchises over and over again. Oh, let's just do it for a different audience, and it's like, dude, you had an audience. Instead of just, people are afraid to try anything new.
Or they're counting on new things, I think, too much.
Yeah. Well, they're turning old things into new things.
Yes.
It's just that everything is just done weird, and sometimes you get stuff that works, and sometimes you don't. So,
well, like when I first started doing this, like to speak to that, is like one of the comics that I looked at was Static Shock.
Oh,
because I mean, like I think I've told this story like a million times now, but like the reason that like I started writing the comic was because Miles Morales gets like passed around different superheroes all the time, and I said I could write a better Black character, and I'm the whitest white girl I know, and so I did.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing about that too is, and I always feel like, I don't know how you feel about this, but even when it comes to movies, they should be remaking bad movies that had good premises or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or I often see that, and it's like, I don't like how this was done. I could have done it better, and that's just a great approach.
Yeah. Well, my kids and I are reading through we're reading through Harry Potter, and we're at book 7, and there's a passage about where, like, it's in book 7, so Harry's found out about the Horcruxes and how, like, they're created when you split your soul, and how terrible it is to reattach it together is you have to feel remorse. And I don't think a lot of people want to feel remorse today, because you do have to remember, like, the people that you're dealing with, even if you ardently disagree with them about something, is that they're still human too. And there is this utilitarian, nihilistic kind of approach to the value of human life. And the tragedy of it is that, like, with the dehumanization, you kind of get that, like, you lose that neighborly kind of approach to communal life, I guess would be the way to put
Gotcha.
it.
It's just there's so much, and I don't know. But yeah, I think we're losing a lot of that. And I also noticed your book seems to, for all the, because you mentioned he's going after his dad's murderer, or his dad's killers, right?
Right.
Wait, hold on. A man is beating a woman? Hold on, I'm sorry, I had to stop. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was allowed anymore.
Oh, well.
Now a man is rescuing a woman? You must be some kind of misogynist, honestly.
So, well, I actually, so I finished the script for issue number 3, and you get to learn a little bit more about the background between my female lead. And I like her arc as well. So it's worth sticking around for that.
So were you inspired by, because you mentioned you're a snob, are there any comic book writers or comic book runs that you were really into, or were you mostly into the animated stuff?
So I for what it's worth, I like manga a lot. I bought some for my kids this week. But the one of the things that I think that I really like doing is I'm very, like, I always count myself as, like, ahead of the times with certain things, because I just don't like, I don't like, and there is a point where it's interesting where a lot of your ideas do become very generic after a while. But I really wanted the musical talent. Music to me personally means a lot. And like, I grew up in the church, and so I have all these hymns that I'm trying to get my kids to learn on the piano so I can listen to them again, And and I go to, like, the old people's service at my church where they play the hymns, and I just think, when this generation passes, all this wisdom and knowledge and beautiful, like, arrangements that they've made are going to get lost, because we're going to have like contemporary, and then we're just going to have, like, Hillsong chanting by that point. So there's such a de-evolution to music today in many respects. And like again, I said, it goes in kind of like with the shallowness of the understanding of the human nature, and the value that each soul has intrinsically, whether it's useful or not. So I really wanted the musical power, because it connects me to so many people and my memories and my emotions, and like, it helps realign a lot of my own priorities as a human. So so that was probably the big unique thing. And then I said, like, after that, building the character is like, oh, it's got to be some kind of, like, motivation behind the goal. There's got to be some relevance to bringing in the human trafficker element, because that's another thing. Like, we really have a problem with that, And I've reached out to some companies to see if they, would be interested in looking at it. And a lot of the stuff I get is really oddly disconcerting, of, like, you don't want to see this. So it is kind of like,
so not a lot of biting right now.
No, it's really weird on some level. And then when Sound of Music came out last year, it was really weird too, to see that kind of, like, this isn't what really happens. And I'm like, no, this is, like, tame compared to what happens. So
Sound of Music.
Oh, Sound of Freedom, I'm sorry.
Yes. I was gonna say, I was like, Sound of Music, I didn't Sound of Freedom. Really? Were people saying that?
Yes.
Wow. I've heard stupid things. I mean, you spend 5 minutes on the internet, but that is one I did not hear. So it's $25, 30 pages.
Yes.
And you also get both digital versions.
Yes.
And then for just the digital, for just two, it's $10 for you just to support. That's one. You get your name in next issue's acknowledgement. So not this issue. This issue completely done.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
My
it's
artist
completely
are
done.
working- Yeah, my
Is
artist
it-
working on number 3. So
That's awesome. I do that too. I'm doing that. I have issue 2 is already more than a third of the way done. So is your book basically printer ready?
yes, I have to like put the order in, but I'm kind of waiting to see how much I'll need first.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the
I-
more the better.
yeah, buying in bulk is still cheaper. So
So guys, if you want physical copies, now is the time to get it. Otherwise, you'll be kicking yourself if you don't get it. So
well,
that's what you
I'm
need to
hoping
do.
I'll still have a crowdfunding one for the next issue, and I don't know. Like I juggle a lot of things. I have a lot of hats that I wear around my house because I'm the
Mhm.
mom, and I'm the wife, and the chauffeur, and and I homeschool my kids, and sometimes it is really
Oh,
hard.
wow.
The marketing is really hard to get to. So another reason I like coming on podcasts is like, oh, it's your job to make me look interesting. If I have
Yeah.
anything on top of that, that's a good thing.
Well, it's actually, it's funny you say that because to an extent, yeah. But really, all I do is just ask questions and then, let you do your thing, really. And then wherever the
Yes.
conversation goes, it goes.
I appreciate you letting me rant. So
No, it's good. It's good. It makes my job easier. It does. So this guy has a really interesting power set. So tell me about that, because the music notes, or especially just the way it's visually presented.
Okay. So like after you lose a loved one, especially in a tragic sort of way, and I lost pretty much my grandfather into a car accident when I was younger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's okay. I named my son after him, so it's nice that way. And the kind of like, especially when it is like a killer, kind of like somebody killed him, you wonder and you want revenge and you want justice, and there's such you can't have that personal attachment to revenge and justice and stuff. So in my comic, like this was like a gift that was given to him to kind of show that you can't really be judge, jury, and executioner, because there are things about a person that you don't necessarily understand. And this is kind of like a blessing and a curse in many ways, because it does force you to be responsible with that kind of power. And it also forces you to realize your limitations as your own self. And I will say, like, I liked the idea that I talk about this too, is like in the book of Genesis, God says, like, it says, in the beginning God created, and what he spoke and said, let there be lights. And the translation on it, and especially if you listen to like how the Hebrew language goes, it is kind of like this, like a song more than speaking. It's kind of like what prose and poetry are in that regard. Like singing and talking are different things. So God sang creation into existence, and so we are all these like little songs, since we're made in the image of God, and we can all have this beautiful layer of our inner self that only He really sees. And I like the idea of somebody seeing like a glimmer of that, and using that power to try to bring, like I said, like a more of a reconciliation sort of power to the world than and that forces you to consider justice and mercy more than revenge. So, like I said, kind of a blessing, kind of a curse. You want justice for your dad's death, but at the same time, you're not in a place to give it or go for it.
And so he can read people essentially through hearing the songs. Is that what I'm understanding?
So he gets to like see some of their like more traumatizing memories, or
okay.
And then also like he can see some of their emotions particularly if they're really obvious. So one of the things I'm like most proud of about issue 2 is that he's going to college to get his degree. He wants to become a child psychologist. I think this is my biggest problem with Batman. Is that
Right.
Batman is just like this really rich guy, and like it's not like he doesn't do something by helping all these people have jobs and everything, but it's like what I wanted for my character is that he gets into the nitty gritty of the individual person and seeks to make them, like I said, reconciled, find healing, find forgiveness, find this this um this pathway forward to recovery.
So,
I mean,
so he doesn't just beat everyone up.
right.
Gotcha. So see, that's really cool. It's you know, people keep saying that you can't do new things with superheroes, and I don't agree at all. Because this is, I've had a lot of people promote their superhero books on my show. This is a unique one, you know.
Yay.
And it sounds to me like you didn't just go, I could do a better Miles Morales, and then just did Miles Morales, but yours. It sounds to me like this is just a totally new idea. You know, this is.
Well, I mean, it's such a shame that nobody's thought about using music as a superpower like this before.
I never have.
Well, I mean, like I live in Atlanta, and I mean, it's a very diverse city, and there's, you know, there's hip hop, R&B, there's a lot of.
Well, we're frozen for a moment.
Well, okay, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. I was saying, like, there are a lot of people that have slavery in their history, and with that, you have like all the hymns, like "Follow the Drinking Gourd" for the Underground Railroad, and all these like these little clues that are hidden in the, you know, the pages of history about how much, and so many African traditions are based out of like oral history. They have such a rich oral history to them that Kaina Akabe, who wrote Things Fall Apart, he was a very harsh critic to Joseph Conrad's The Heart of Darkness, and he specifically said, like, this is a very racist text, and this is like putting forth this idea that like all of Africa is kind of like this barbaric sort of thing, and it's just, it ultimately comes down to a different set of values and a different set of like constructs for reality that you need in a survivalist based society versus a more like one that has ways of preserving their history. So like I like to tell people, like, you know, there's a lot more history for Europe just because we've had paper for a lot longer. Those kind of rich literary traditions that we have in like the East Coast, you know, it comes more out of a written tradition. I mean, and you do see this kind of even in cultures today where like British culture tends to be a little bit more soft spoken. You know, Americans tend to be very loud to them. So and I think that's just because
I contribute. I contribute. You know.
Yes, well, welcome to your philosophy, history, literary history class.
It's interesting. Listen, I'll take it. I like it. So we've
Well,
got.
when I was teaching, nobody cared. So.
Strong man, shy girl romance.
Yes.
You like why? I like you wrote this like a in such a unique way. You know, I've never been to Atlanta, by the way. I keep putting off going. I've had multiple people tell me to go, and I keep going. Yeah, I'll go eventually. I think that what is it, Dragon Con? I think if I can get some friends to do a convention or something, then I'll. That's usually a good motivator for me, and then I'll convince myself, while I'm here, I might as well stay a day or two, because there is film work to do down there. But I keep going.
Huge film industry.
Yeah, I keep going. Yeah, but I don't have a reason to go down there. But I also have a reason to go down there. But I also don't. And I'm like, all right, let's give a temporary reason, and then I'll make. That's my plan.
Well, the Dragon Con is the big one down here. They did start Comic Con up a couple years ago. I did go to that before with my books, and honestly, I was traumatized.
A lot of people are. It's weird. I don't know what I am, because there are times where I'm like, I just want to be left alone, but I'm not as introverted as some of my introvert friends that are like, Vaughn, shut up, just let me go. I'm like, okay, because sometimes I'm like, oh my god, are you not like? And they're like, no, dude, I just give me a second to talk. I'm like, all right, you know. So I think I'm extroverted in some ways introverted in others, because there are some times where people are around and I'm just like quiet. I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
um,
the fun, like another aspect of human nature that people forget is that we are individualistic as much as we are communal, and
yeah,
we need our own version of community. Now,
yeah,
I don't agree with the idea that it takes a village to raise your kids.
absolutely not. I don't
I
trust the
say,
village.
well, it takes a kingdom, and I am the queen of my own little kingdom, and I have a very strict immigration policy.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yes. So I actually say when people ask me, what political thing are you? I say I'm a queen conservative because I'm a queen. My husband treats me like a queen. So
That's good.
yes. So I act very well on it. So,
That's good.
so.
So we got he's listening to her. So I'm curious because you didn't. Are you like into music at all? Like, did you have specific notes written or songs or no?
Like I said, that's probably one of the things that if I could be more specific about it, I would do it. But I didn't. I just wanted just kind of like it usually goes with the colors that you can see it more. I do like a lot of colors. So
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm like learning all this stuff. Like, oh, architecture. I'm like, oh, maybe I should figure out what the building is so I could write the scene. And I'm like, you know what? All right, artist, that's your job, dude. Like, I've done enough. I've done enough character work. I'm paying you for the,
Mhm.
I'm just like,
Yes.
draw this city. Go nuts.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what it is you want to know. I think in my first script, you'll find like, and I don't know if you felt this way. Did you ever find like a medium? I know most artists or writers talk about this, where at first they write way more, and then as they kind of mellow out as it goes, and like, you know
Yes.
what, they got it. That's me. Like my issue, I'm at a point where I'll write like 2 pages, and I'm like, or I'll write a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I could like roughly, all right, that's 2 pages. You figure it out. Sometimes that's where I'm at. I think I don't know. It just depends. But guys, back this book if you haven't already. It's already 25% funded. Just
Yes.
get whatever you want. If you're interested in this book, you'd even just get the Dizchord.
Discord. Yes.
Yeah.
I actually have for the first issue, I did a light novelization for it, and I didn't put it in the comic, but the commentary is that the newspapers named him that. So,
The newspaper named him Dizchord.
yes, he
Why?
didn't write it. Just because the media wanted something interesting, and when you're going after human traffickers, you don't really want to advertise who you are very much, so the media needed a name for him.
Gotcha. I like the look of this book. I like the what is it, batons or screamer sticks on his back. I like that.
Yep. So, yep, they have a unique twist to them too. So they hook in together to be a bow staff.
Gotcha. Oh, so okay, yeah, I could see the Nightwing then. Definitely a lot. So, who are your favorite superheroes? And I'm curious, is someone with a novel background? Added to my list. We'll pick it up Friday. Good stuff.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Can I say Sailor Moon? So
No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to express opinions on my show. So this is how it works. My guests, what happens, guys, is my guests, ask them their opinion, and then I give them a list of pre-selected opinions that they're allowed to have.
Okay.
Okay.
I will say, like, Spider-Man 2 is probably the best superhero movie out there. So
I love Spider-Man 2. Did you see it in theaters again? It was in theaters.
I didn't know that, but I have the movie here, and I let my kids watch it. So.
Gotcha. I've never seen Sailor Moon.
Okay.
But no, that counts. I think that's a very girly superhero story, right?
Yes, it's a very girly superhero. So.
I heard that's when people are like, "Why can't there be superheroes for women?" I'm like, "Don't you have Sailor Moon?"
Yes. Well, Sailor Moon was just one of those. I think it's honestly like a very good lightning in a bottle sort of thing, because it is very frilly. It's kind of like the Legally Blonde of anime in many ways, because everybody looks at Legally Blonde and they love it, and like Ella's this like really girly, confident woman who's going to Harvard and standing up for herself and proving her worth to herself, and even if it is to like eventually earn a guy, she ends up not with him, right? So spoilers if you haven't seen the movie.
I haven't seen Legally Blonde.
It's only been out for 20 some years now, so and I think that's probably like the big thing for women today is that like yes, I am
What's
MSK.
going on?
So the big thing for women is just that our femininity is often derided and degraded, and to some extent I understand that. Like the whole Twilight era of books, for example, people were talking about how it's an eighth grader's like ideal dream, and you know what, it is.
Do you like Twilight? Are you a Twilight fan?
So I wasn't, but I think part of that was because I was always on the more intellectual side of girls, and Bella never struck me as a kindred spirit. So I was more drawn to Hermione if I had to pick between Harry Potter and Twilight. So, and it's funny because like reading through it again, I'm like, yeah, Hermione, lighten up.
Is she? What is she? Annoying in the books? I haven't read the books. But is she? Well, she's very much like posh, is what I remember, right? Or was she?
No,
I don't know about posh. Maybe that's not the right word, but very.
She's very studious, and she is very like the girl next door type of thing, where she's pretty in her own way, and it is one of those things where you really can fall in love with someone like that when you get to know them, but you don't notice it at first.
Yeah,
and I like that kind of trope personally, because I've seen it in real life happen so many times where you're not sure if you're going to get along with this person, and then they turn out to be like your best friend.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like one of those little gifted miracles that you get, is like, oh, I'm not expecting a friend at all, and here I have one. So
that's great. I need to rewatch those movies. I love Harry Potter.
Okay,
I think they might be.
Movies. So.
I've only seen the movies. You don't like the movies?
No. Read
Tell
the
me
book.
why. Tell me why. Because I've seen the movies. I'm a pedestrian. It's okay. Talk down to me. Tell me what I did wrong. Because I get like this. Because I'll be like, now I understand as a comic book fan. This is probably how my non-comic book fan friends feel when I talk to them. Like, no, actually, what you liked was stupid. And I'll tell you why. So tell me why I'm wrong about Harry Potter. Let's go.
So basically, the first three movies are like okay, because they managed to hit all like the major plot beats of the book and stuff.
And they go off the rails.
Yes, and the fourth through the seventh or eighth movie, I guess, they're all kind of really shallowed out at that point, where you see like the characters are washed down and kind of put to their like basic beats, and that's it. And I mean, like even in the books, I have the same issue with like Ron's character starts off as like he's kind of like the street smart kind of like he knows his stuff, but he's really lazy. So I've seen that a lot as a student, where you're really, really smart and you know it, but you're really lazy and you won't turn in your homework, so I have to call your parents. So, and like I said, with Hermione, she just becomes the smart one, and it's like she knows stuff that she's not supposed to in the movies, because a lot of the directors really liked working with her character too much, and it was made probably in that period of time where there's a big push for feminism, and I mean, there's always kind of been that like push, but she wasn't balanced out with a lot of like the other characters. It was very, very like obvious. I think the term for it is adaptational attractiveness. So, and of course, Emma Watson is just too pretty for her own good. She couldn't play a normal, relatable person. I think that's uglier. So without severe makeup work.
Was Hermione not supposed to be pretty then?
Nope, she's just supposed to be average. So.
Oh, hold on. So, well, because that's also like, what if? I mean, because she was cast when she was a child, So it's like, oh well, man. So okay, so you don't think that they were? Because I noticed they started getting darker from the fourth one on. I would say even the third one. You don't feel that that's the case in the books?
That are left out too. So
sorry,
there's
too much in the book.
There's too much in the books that's left out, and a lot of like the fifth book, like.
I heard that that's the longest one, isn't it?
I think it is, and I think like the fifth book, like the climax of it doesn't actually lend well to a movie in terms of like the putting it like the big climactic scene. It's because a lot of it's emotional, and you don't understand some of it, just because a lot of it is about how Harry's reacting to certain things that happen, and it is more of an internal character struggle, and they don't do a very good job adapting it. So, and then
Gotcha. All right. Well,
read the books, man, if you're gonna.
I will have to read the books. I've read parts of the books. I remember when the seventh movie was coming out, I'd go and try and look for the spoilers in the seventh book, and then I
I've
wouldn't know
heard
what
that
was
the
going on.
audiobooks are really great. So
Okay.
it's similar. Jim Daly, I think, is the narrator for it, and similar to like the Lord of the Rings being read by Andy Serkis. It has a certain charm to it.
Oh, I didn't know that he did that. That's awesome.
Yes. Oh well.
Does he read it like Smeagol?
Maybe the Smeagol part.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so all right. I gotta check that out. I never read Lord of the Rings either.
I have it on my list of things to read to my kids, but it's been a while.
Okay. All right. So Harry Potter. All right. I'll have to read the books because I've only seen the movies and I like the movies, but
that is probably the other side of publishing and everything. Like, there's so many good books out there that it's hard to find one that speaks to you for all time. So I try to reread. Yeah, well, I try to read my favorite novel consistently. My most consistent favorite novel is "Till We Have Faces" by C.S. Lewis, and it's the myth of Psyche and Eros retold. And he wrote it for his wife, so it's like hopeless romantic. But I try to reread it every couple of years or every year if I can, and it always speaks to me different ways. And I think that's the mark of a good book too. So, if you look back at the stuff that was made during the last like 6 years, how much of the stuff is really going to be like really good still in 6 years? Because there's a lot of over political, timely kind of commentary on it.
It is. It's annoying. Like The Boys is a show that I think totally just destroyed itself over that. Like,
I stopped watching after season 2.
Season 2 is when it got bad, and then 3. What shocked me is everyone was like, "Oh my god, with season 4, I can't believe it went this way." I'm like, "Have you not watched the last 2 seasons? What are you talking about?" People, I guess, are slow to because they're like, "No." I'm like, "They didn't do that." I'm like, "Do you want me to play the scene where they said this?" And like, "Nah, they didn't say that." I'm like, "Yeah, they actually did."
Yeah, well,
the writer said it.
Even with like Marvel, if you look at like the first couple of movies with Loki in it, and you look at the latest stuff with Loki in it, you can kind of see that character. Like, it's almost like I said, like a laziness to writing the character. So.
Loki's the only one. We could go. There's so many characters they got lazy. It sucks because it's like, and I was, again, I posted about something later. They were like, "You're someone angrily to a couple people." It's like they're NPCs. They're like, "You're the reason why characters can never evolve." Fans like you, and I'm like, no, actually, characters like have been evolving regularly. You can evolve a character without fundamentally changing them. Like, I'm still gonna be me tomorrow. I'm constantly changing. That's how people are.
Yes,
find new things to do with that person.
Yes, the Theseus boat paradox.
Yeah.
If you slowly replace every part of a boat to the point where the boat's no longer original, as it's still Theseus's boat.
That's a good point. That is a good point. So so I have a question. So how long are you planning on running the series for? Is it a limited series?
Okay. I will say that's the other side of things that I really hate about superhero stuff, is that you should have a definite end in mind.
Okay, so you have a definite end then.
I have a definite end.
Is it issue 3000 or is
no? It's at issue number 5 will be the last one.
Okay.
Till I make my millions, and I can just I can work my comic team a lot harder.
Gotcha.
One of the things about writing is that writing is a lot like largely a solitary pursuit. You still need a team for it. You still need your editor. You still need people to give you feedback and say, "Hey, this is good," or "Hey, this is bad," or "Hey, didn't you use this in your other book?"
Oh yeah.
After a while, that does become a problem.
Recycling words, recycling.
Yes, catchphrases and everything. So yeah. But so this is a 5-issue run. I honestly don't have a 5-book series. So I was like, I just need a 5-book series, because I've had 3-book series, 2-book series. I've had standalone novels. I've had a 13 novel stance, So that's I think that's my longest series yet, and that one's actually getting a spin-off when I can get it because it's funny. So that one's Fat Girl, where this, yep, it's also kind of a superhero comic. When I was when my kids were younger, I got offered a job to write in Hollywood, and I can't move my family out of Georgia because of my husband's job. So I was like, I'm going to write for TV, and so this is what I'm going to write, and that's how Fat Girl kind of got.
Where is Fat Girl? Where can we find it?
Oh, you know, Fat Girl's actually on Kindle Unlimited because it's
okay.
so it's specifically there. But there's this the basic premise is that it's about a 17-year-old girl who wants to be a model like her mother, and she eats radioactive donuts and accidentally stops a terrorist attack because she sits on the guy's face. And it's just
what?
kind of, yes. So you want to talk about absurdist
comic?
It's not a comic, but if somebody wanted to adapt it, I would be like, go for it. So, but
okay.
yes, her grandmother used to work for the government, and they're trying to track down the guy who stole her radioactive donut recipe. And so it's a buddy cop kind of mystery with superhero Fat Girl, teenage romance, and insecurities,
Right.
and the best grandmas. I love my grandma characters. So, Sophia Perchilla had a gun. That's exactly how I would describe my Abuela Polanca character. Cool. But so that was kind of like the precursor to writing superhero comics, anyway. And but yeah, it's getting a spin-off here at some point. It's called Spy Girl. So because it just loses the radioactive elements. Yep. Already got some very nice titles picked out for it with Florida Woman and Green Lives Matter. I make fun of stuff. So I'm aiming to cancel myself.
That's okay. That's all. As long as your audience sticks around, that's what matters. Or you're continuing to gain new people.
Well,
if you don't want to cancel her, make sure to back her book. Fund my comic.
Yes, keep me alive.
Keep her alive. So her life is literally in your hands, in other words, and mine too now, because now I've taken on the responsibility, and it's a bad PR move if you guys bully the audience into backing the book. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, make sure you guys back this book. Got it again, great price point for digital. Great, and then you also have the physical right here. And then fresh off the comic press as well as digital copies, and you can also get both right here. So make sure you guys do that, and there will only be 5 issues. So, and it's like I said, the book is done.
Yes,
book is completely done. It's formatted.
Yes, I feel bad on some level. Like some people do them every year consistently, and it's nope, it's not ready. It's not ready. I have edits, and I got to go back, and I've had a couple lines that I've had to rephrase and stuff. So, you know.
It happens. I felt my letter at one point was like, dude, I'm like, all right, last grammar revision, no more. And then I told all the people that hadn't given me feedback yet, I'm like, don't worry about it. You can read it if you want to. I'm like, but I'm not changing. I've done too many edits. You know, we'll fix issue 2 and 3.
Yeah,
we're done for now.
And then there's usually always one typo that gets in, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Still to this day, like in some of my earliest books, especially because it's like the thing about, and I tell people who want to write their own books or their own comic books, is like, just start doing it, just start trying, because the sooner you start, the better, the faster like you'll get good at it.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for like 12 years now, and I really love it. And yeah, I do it on the side. I say it's like full part-time or part full-time or something, and balancing everything out. But it is really, like I said, it's a really great endeavor. You're creating art, people. You're giving people hope. It is an act of creation, and that ties it, like I said, intimately to hope, and you're offering hope to people. So.
Yeah, it's great. So this is your second issue of this, but how many comics have you done?
Just this one.
So 12. So you've been writing for 12 years, but not writing comics. Because I was going to say, I was like, wait a minute, where are the other comics? Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I know, and I think more people, as much as I want to say, oh, comic fans, we need more people, like novelists, and more writers, really, in comics, too. Not just artists that want to write, or people with ideas, you know, people who take craft of writing seriously.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of nonfiction books, and one of them is "Good Writing is Like Good Sex," and it's my thoughts on good
Mm.
writing. So
Mm.
yes, a lot more people seem to gravitate towards that title for some reason.
Well, sex sells. I mean,
Yeah, and it's mostly about like
oh,
I actually
I
recommend it
just
a lot
found it.
to people.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
There's an audiobook. Ain't no way.
yes. So
Who did the audiobook? Was it man's voice or woman's voice?
it's actually my friend Faith Moore. She's
It's a
actually
woman's voice.
my resident fairy tale expert friend.
Okay.
So she's done really good work with her own work too. So she's a novelist.
The
Um,
girl of all my memes.
yes.
Incredible.
I actually, when I first started teaching high school, I had students correct me because I was saying mem. Because like
Memes.
memes, and
Oh
yeah,
man.
they're like, Ms. Johnson, it's memes. And I'm like, but it's not spelled like this. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. So I wrote that as kind of a joke between me and the student that told me how to fix it. So like, here you
That's
go.
it.
This is your book. So I'll never forget how to say memes.
So everyone make sure to check out all of her writing. Where else can people find you?
Just usually on Twitter is where
Twitter.
most people have found me so far. For what it's worth, I really like Twitter, and I'm on Gab too. I like Twitter in that I've met a lot of really good people in there, and I do think social media is what you make of it. So
Yes. It's horrible and it's good. It's all the above.
if all the world's a sandbox and everybody's crapping in a corner, you try to stay away from those cat turds. So.
That is a great analogy. Yeah, because I'll often be like, Twitter is horrible. And then I'm like, well, how many connections have I made through Twitter? A lot. I mean, I found you through a show, but I imagine that was Twitter. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I was like, so I was on Iron Oxide's show, and they were like, because I mentioned Jennifer Love Hewitt, and they were like, oh, we know this girl who looks like Jennifer Love Hewitt. And I was like, what? And then I'm like, I've been on her show. I'm like, oh my god, you do. But
Oh, you know what's funny? I get that
you
a lot.
do, you
I'm
really
like,
do.
I have no idea why.
Yeah, no, you do. Because at first I
Thank
didn't
you.
see it, and I'm like, yeah.
You might be hearing from her lawyers, but
Her lawyers? Why is she so happy? Oh man, can't all be perfect, I guess.
yeah, well, yeah. What was she really big in? I forget.
I
She
know what you did last summer.
was it? I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, I know what you did last summer. Apparently, because she was just not in a lot of stuff people liked, but everyone likes her. But a lot of the stuff she's in, people are like,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I
Which there are a
think-
lot of actors like that, where it's like they just never land that
yes, that
project.
pad sort of thing.
Unless I'm missing anything, chat, let me know. But yeah, I know what you did last summer, and then the second one, there's a scene with her in a bikini, which automatically makes the movie good. But the movie is actually very bad. The second one is really stupid, and the first one I actually like. A lot of people think it's tacky. I actually think it's well written.
I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, the first one, but then the second one is stupid as hell. Like it's so dumb.
I do think there's, like I said, there's a problem with ending things that are popular because my kids have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I have to tell them that like the Lake Cloud guy thing. It's like there's no sequel to Avatar.
Oh yeah, like I don't hate Korra. There's things I love about it, but I've seen all the video essays that break it down. And I'm like, I can't get it, or I can't hardly wait. I will have to watch that one. I've been meaning to watch that one. Yeah.
Well, you're a director and a writer and a movie star.
Yeah, I've been
You should know yourself.
terrible about watching movies lately.
There is something to like when you know how to cook the soup, you don't really want to make it for yourself very often. Or
I don't think that's it. I think I'm just a lazy guy. Honestly, I can't even. You're like giving an intellectual response, and I'm just being honest with you. I don't think that's it. I think I have terrible attention span and bad time management.
yeah, well, I will say like I've gotten super picky about what I read anymore because you do tend to realize like, oh, this is playing into some like I've noticed a lot of like trending stuff, and I just don't like trendy stuff. So I tend to gravitate towards more nonfiction book, and I love memoirs. So that's probably like the biggest literary influence I could give myself is I love memoirs. I love reading I love reading about people's lives. I'm trying to get my kids to read. So when I was a kid, my favorite like woman, I guess, hero was Maria Mitchell and Annie Oakley. And it's like, I really love those books. So I got them for my daughter, and I'm like, here you go, read it. And she's like, ew, I don't want to read this. I'm just kind of like, no. It's not the right response, honey. So, but yes, please buy my books. Help my
Yes,
children.
check out our books. Make them feel really bad about the children's stuff, especially. Everything you could do.
Well, I love being a mom, but it is hard juggling being a parent and doing stuff like this. So.
Marketing is annoying too. I mean, it's fun though because it does force you to network. But man,
like I said, you get really good people, and like I said, I can steal your artists now without feeling bad.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's just a capitalist transaction.
Yes.
Hey, I would like you to work on this. Here's the money. Okay, here's my availability.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, he may be a little busy until October. Well, and then because here's the thing, he'll manage. I'm writing issues ahead, so I'm always gonna be working him until he's like enough,
Oh well, I'm definitely gonna keep my team that I have. So my artists are Light Comic Studios, if anybody wants to look them up, and they're really great. They have they do manga as well, or the manga as well as the comic stuff. So that's part of the other reason I like them is I think they have to like I think they enjoy my story from the emails I get, and it's helpful to know that like more people will understand it, and I didn't get too too in the here and now of it. There's a difference between timely stories and timeless stories.
Yes, exactly.
I'm trying to keep a good balance of both on some level.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. And we live in an era that praises instant gratification over delayed gratification.
Yes, that is a big problem. So but I think I could probably get your artist guy for like a variant cover.
Oh no, I'm kidding. I could get you. I'm just messing with you. You could definitely get him for something. Yeah, reach out.
We can. I'll mess with you back, and we'll fight over it.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, no, I know especially once the book drops, I think more people. But even like the first time I showed off the cover, I'm at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, and people are like, "All right, I'm hiring him." I'm like, "No, don't steal my guy." No, but I'm kidding. I was like, "Here's his information."
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Well, on some level, you don't want people to steal him, but.
No, I want him to. Him working with me is good for business for him, and also I just want to see my friend succeed. He's my friend, so right. I'm messing. But thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, check out C.S. Johnson's work. We know where to find you. We rambled for a few minutes extra, so I think we already did the goodbye thing. But anything else you want to say?
No, just thank you for having me. And
of course.
If you need an opening or you have an opening to fill, just let me know.
Yeah. And reach out to me too. That's another thing. People, don't be afraid to reach out to me first. If I forget, if you're just like, hey, I'd like to come on, no problem. Just message me. Yeah. So sounds good. And then as we head out, I'm gonna play the trailer for my comic. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out and have a great rest of your day. Yeah, and on Thursday, I will be having Dan Fan on my show. So tune in for that. See you guys.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new. Something greater to be born, and with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenova. For you, Dad. For you.